The sun dipped below the Alps, painting the Swiss town of La Chaux-de-Fonds in hues of gold and crimson. In a tiny wooden shack on the outskirts of town, 14-year-old Hans Wilsdorf sat at a rickety table, his fingers numb from the cold. He squinted at a pocket watch he had dismantled, its gears and springs spread out like the scattered remnants of his dreams. Hans had grown up in poverty, the son of a watchmaker who had passed away far too young. Orphaned at 12, Hans had been sent to live with his uncle, a stern man who ran a small hardware shop. Though his uncle disapproved of Hans tinkering with watches instead of helping in the shop, the boy couldn't resist the allure of the intricate mechanisms. Each evening Hans would sneak scraps of metal and broken watches from his uncle's store to his tiny workbench. He would spend hours studying their inner workings, imagining a day when he could create something beautiful and precise, something that could stand the test of time. One day, while delivering a package to a wealthy merchant, Hans overheard a conversation about wristwatches. They were seen as a novelty, inferior to pocket watches in accuracy and durability. But to Hans, they were revolutionary. Time on your wrist, always at hand. That night, as he gazed at the stars, Hans made a vow to himself. I will create a wristwatch that is not just a novelty but a masterpiece, one that is precise, reliable, and worthy of the heavens themselves. At 16, Hans left his uncle's house with little more than a knapsack and a heart full of ambition. He traveled to Geneva, the heart of the Swiss watch industry, and found work as an apprentice at a watch export company. There, he learned the art of watchmaking and the intricacies of the trade. But Hans was not content with assembling watches for others. He dreamed of creating his own brand, one that symbolized precision, luxury, and resilience. In 1905, at the age of 24, Hans moved to London, where he partnered with his brother-in-law, Alfred Davis, to start a watch distribution company. They named it Wilsdorf and Davis. But Hans knew that to stand out, he needed a name that was short, memorable, and elegant. One morning, as he rode a horse-drawn carriage through the streets of London, the name Rolex came to him. He later said it sounded like the ticking of a watch. Hans's first breakthrough came when he collaborated with a Swiss manufacturer to create small, precise movements for wristwatches. In 1910, a Rolex wristwatch became the first in the world to receive the Swiss Certificate of Chronometric Precision. 4 years later, Rolex earned the Class of Precision Certificate from the Kew Observatory in England, a feat previously reserved for marine chronometers, but success didn't come easily. During World War I, the demand for luxury watches plummeted, and Hans faced financial difficulties. Undeterred, he adapted by focusing on affordability without compromising quality. In 1926, Hans introduced the Rolex Oyster, the world's first waterproof wristwatch. To prove its reliability, he had a young woman swim across the English Channel wearing the watch. The publicity catapulted Rolex into global fame. A few years later, Hans added the self-winding mechanism, creating the Rolex Perpetual, a watch that powered itself with the motion of the wearer's wrist. By the time Hans Wilsdorf passed away in 1960, Rolex had become synonymous with precision, innovation, and luxury. But Hans never forgot his humble beginnings. He established the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, ensuring that a portion of Rolex's profits would support charitable causes. The boy who had once stared at the stars from his cold shack had created a brand that embodied timelessness, proving that even the poorest of beginnings could lead to the grandest of legacies. And so, every time someone wears a Rolex, they carry with them not just a watch, but the story of a boy who dared to dream beyond his circumstances, a boy who believed in the power of time,